Polarization can be defined as a division of people into two sharply contrasting groups, sets of opinions, or beliefs. And you have seen it everywhere, from the infamous white or gold dress debate to choosing sides in the Kendrick versus Drake beef, all the way to Republicans versus Democrats in US politics. It feels like humans can't resist picking sides, whether it's silly internet drama or politics shaping the future of our nations. But why do we love this? Why do we keep falling on these loops of us versus them battles that rarely lead us anywhere? Are we addicted to disagreement? In this video, we'll explore why polarization is so attractive to us and what it means for culture and society. Hello everyone, my name is Via and welcome back to a new video. Today's topic is polarization, which is a concept that always intrigued me, whether it's used as a weapon, as a tool, or just phenomena that happen in our society. Whenever you're scrolling your own TV, you always come across something that is in some way polarizing. Entertainment nowadays thrives on keeping people apart, making people choose teams or sides. And when I usually came across these things, I was like, but why does this work? That led me to do some research, and today I am going to be sharing my research with you. So grab your drinks, grab your snacks, because this is going to be a deep dive. Humans have always loved conflicting stories, whether it was gladiator fights or reality TV. Picking sides has always been one of the central points of entertainment. But when did it start? For how long have we used polarization as spectacle? Well, this goes back thousands of years. In ancient Rome, gladiator games were not only brutal contests, but also deeply political. Different classes and regions will cheer for their champions, while emperors used these divisions to secure public loyalty. In ancient Greece, theatrical tragedies and comedy staged at festivals like the Dionysia invited audiences to argue over moral, political, and social issues. Polarization was part of the experience, as playwrights like Aristophanes thrived on satire that divided opinion. Even before written history, myths and epics revolved around conflict and division. Anthropologists argue that oral traditions like stories about good and evil spirits or rival clans often functioned as entertainment while reinforcing social bonds and group identity. Polarization was intertwined with storytelling itself. And the truth is, polarization wasn't always a way to separate people, but maybe a way to bring them together. Because polarization means dividing people, but it wasn't always inside their own group, but rather between groups, to keep groups separate. For early human groups, this meant uniting tribes around common values or against shared enemies. These stories about villains, rival clans, and evil spirits created a stronger sense of community with a mindset of protection and survival. But today the landscape is completely different. We don't need to fight for survival like our ancestors did. Instead, we live in a whole new world, the online world. The internet has changed everything in our lives, including polarization. It has made it global, instant, and endless. Scholars argue that digital media fundamentally transformed the way polarization spreads. Unlike traditional communities bound by geography, the internet creates networked publics where people gather around shared identities and opinions regardless of distance, meaning today you can be part of a community that solely exists online. You can be part of a group and have an identity that only exists in the online world. And I am sure you have seen this. Polarization is no longer limited to a city, a tribe, or a theater. It can be spread worldwide in seconds. And where do social media algorithms play in this? They play a big part because they fuel this. And why? Because controversial content gets clicks. Studies have shown that anger, outrage, and conflict drive far more engagement than neutral and positive posts. Brady et al., in a study made in 2017, found that tweets containing moral and emotional language were significantly more likely to go viral. And I don't think this is news to any of you. If you have been on Twitter, you know that the ones that go viral are the ones that are either rage baiting or giving very unpopular opinions or hate comments. And other platforms like Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok are designed to maximize engagement because the more time you spend on the app, the more ads you see, the more revenue they make. So the algorithm learns if divisive posts keep you scrolling, then you will get more of them. And this is where the concept of echo chambers comes in. An echo chamber happens when algorithms mostly show us content that already matches what we believe, reinforcing our worldview, also known as pipelines. I think more commonly we talk about this like pipelines. For example, the alt-right pipeline, where you might like one or two videos that are slightly about the right-wing ideology, and suddenly your whole feed is full of fascist content normalizing fascism. And then we see on videos like on Jubilee, you see people openly referring to themselves as fascists, which is wild, by the way. But yeah, that's why it happens. You think that because all you see is this online, you normalize it in your head. Then you think that in the real world outside, it's also normal when it really isn't, and it's just outrageous, honestly. This can happen for any type of pipeline. For example, you have seen vegans, no shade to vegans, but you know those people who are like, oh, I should protect the animals, which is totally fine, but then they're like, oh, also, this is not good for your health, gluten this, sugar that, and suddenly all they're eating is like 3 types of fruit and water, and that's it. Some people don't even drink water, which is crazy. Some people have put in their heads that like water is bad for you and crazy. Like, people get into absurd shit. Some people also call this the filter bubble, the idea that we're trapped in a personalized feed where opposing views rarely break through. This is also adding to this pipeline and echo chamber type of concept where if you're already on this, your feed, your algorithm, your For You page becomes this very curated version of your beliefs or your lifestyle or whatever pipeline you're in. Very rarely other opinions can enter. So you are really in that chamber, and it can get very extreme, it can get very radical, and it's really there. You're inside that box. And also, there's something known as a law of group polarization. It explains that when people mostly interact with like-minded voices, their opinions tend to become more extreme over time. This is a sociological theory, and I just said it. The more you see something, the more extreme it gets, and that's how you get people in right-wing ideology starting to call themselves fascists. I don't think there's a better example than that one. We are all aware of that. If you're in that pipeline and you call yourself a fascist, you're definitely aware of it. If you're not, you have definitely seen it online. And I hope this isn't true, but maybe you've seen it in person as well, which I'm very sorry if you have to interact with people who call themselves fascists in 2025. And the more you go in this rabbit hole, then suddenly your online world can appear like a war zone where you have to protect your opinion, protect your identity, and protect your group against the opposition, against the other side of the polarization. So instead of balance, what you get is a spiral. And what happens to people who don't even fit neatly into these binary sides? Because it's usually one side and the other. It's always two groups. People forget that usually people can have an even different opinion, a third option, I would say. This is where Elizabeth Noel Newman's idea of the spiral of silence comes in. She argued that when people feel their opinion is in the minority, they often stay quiet out of fear of social isolation. Online, this means that voices with more nuanced and third option views are pressured into silence or even forced to pick one of the two and conform. This theory was mainly because of people who don't have the mainstream opinion of things and are silencing into not protesting them. That's why there's such thing as unpopular opinions and things like that. But I think this concept can really be applied to polarization in today's world of division and rage baiting and all of that, because people who really will fit in the middle or not even in none of that spectrum, because opinions are so different, everyone thinks so differently, and someone who has a third vision of things usually cannot be expressed and is not even shown in these algorithms, because these algorithms also recognize that that is not a very popular opinion, so they will push it down so the engagement between the division stays active. So polarization isn't just about exaggerating the extremes, it is also erasing the middle ground. And you think that the erosion of a middle ground will send us all into chaos, but that's clearly not what's happening. The internet is still going, this type of entertainment is still existent, and we see it everywhere. So it is definitely not sending us into chaos. And now you may ask, why? Why? If it should, why is it not happening? And the answer is because it feels good. When we pick sides, especially online, our brains reward us. Every like, share, or comment that reinforces your view gives you a dopamine hit. This is the same chemical that reinforces habits like checking your phone or eating comfort food. That's why agreeing with our side feels so addictive. But it's not just about dopamine. There's also validation and even a sense of moral superiority. When we take a side, especially against an enemy, it makes us feel like we are on the right side, even if the disagreement is about something as silly as pineapple on pizza or is Marvel better than DC. Psychologist Linda Skitka, I don't know if I'm saying her name right, but I hope so, in 2010 made a study that explains this through moral conviction theory. It explains that when people see their beliefs as moral truths, those beliefs feel absolute and non-negotiable. Disagreeing with them isn't just having a different opinion, it feels like an attack on who we are as a person. And that makes defending those beliefs intensely rewarding, because you're defending your identity and your group's identity. This is why online debates escalate so quickly. A simple difference in taste or politics doesn't stay small, it becomes a battle of right versus wrong and good versus evil. And once we feel morally justified, we're more likely to dismiss, mock, or even dehumanize the other side. In that sense, polarization isn't just entertaining, it can actually feel for some people like a moral duty. And underneath all of this lies the self-esteem and the sense of safety that belonging to a group gives you. If you're a loner, if you have the third opinion, if you feel like your opinions are very unpopular, you tend to not feel as secure in them. You won't manifest it as much and you won't be as proud of them. So people who actually belong to one of these two mainstream groups, I would say, feel a sense of security because they're not the only ones. They have a whole community around them. I will say this is actually why some people who believe that the earth is flat are so secure in them, because there's a whole community. If there wasn't such an open community to why you think the earth is flat when there's multiple evidence that it is not, and it just sounds so crazy. There's scientific backing to why the earth is not flat, but a lot of people are openly flat earthers, and the fact that there's even a concept to describe a person who believes in that is what gives them the sense of security, self-esteem, being proud of having such beliefs, and defending that then the earth is flat is literally their moral duty. And today these groups have evolved into something even broader, what sociologist Michel Maffesoli, I don't know the name again, I don't know if I'm doing this right, I'm so sorry, Michel, Michael, I'll put the name here, you guys, you do your thing. He calls this neotribalism. Neotribalism describes how people in modern societies form tribes around shared lifestyles, beliefs, or identities. even when they're not tied together by geography, culture, or tradition. These people can be from two completely opposite places and still be part of the same group because they have the same values. I think one of the most obvious examples of this is fandoms, especially fandoms like Swifties. They can be from two different opposite places of the world, but they will defend this woman till death. They will do anything. If online you talk bad about this woman, they will hunt you down. They will, yeah. So some of these people quite literally worship Taylor Swift in this case and fight off anyone or any other fandom, because then it's not only against one hater, there's hater communities, which seems very weird to say, but there's even communities who hate Taylor Swift, and Swifties and people who hate Taylor Swift fight a lot. Yeah, that it's a whole thing. So they fight off the other group that threatens them and their idol. And if you think back in time, this looks a lot like tribes, like ancient tribes. How people who were nomadic and had to fight off for territory used to, you know, deal with each other. It feels a lot like that, and this is neotribalism. Another good example is the rise of identity politics, which defines today's political landscape all over the world. Debates have become war. People don't hear each other, don't try to understand one another, they just want to defend their stance and get their point across without caring what the other point is, which is wild. It defeats the whole purpose of a debate. And when politics becomes so closely tied to identity, compromising may feel like betrayal, which is very dangerous in politics, because you're no longer just defending your opinion, you're defending your whole identity. It's who you are. So you can't just go on a debate and try to find the middle ground. It's either I win and you lose, or I lose and you win. And that's not the way to do politics, in my opinion, because every group will have different interests, and the importance of having parliamentary debates, of having any kind of conversation, is to find where we both benefit the most without losing ourselves and our rights and our duties. And that's politics. And now this is also reflected in how political parties do their own campaigns and propaganda, which mainly are done to appeal to emotions, feelings, and personal values rather than showcasing their policies and the legislation they want to get across. So these modern tribes gives us a sense of belonging, but they also come with a pressure to conform. If you go against your own tribe even slightly, you risk criticism, exclusion, or even being cancelled, which starts to have real life consequences now. So polarization doesn't just pit one group against another, it also creates rigid rules inside each group, where disagreement is often punished more harshly than opposition from the other side. And the consequences, because yes, all of this brings our society a lot of consequences. The most obvious one is that it makes society more divided. That's the whole point of polarization, that's the definition. And when people see each other less as individuals and more as representatives of an enemy group, dialogue breaks down. Sometimes it's not even about disagreeing, it's about actively disliking and distrusting people from the other side, sometimes even off just vibes. And the internet doesn't exactly help. Drama channels, rage bait podcasts, and trash reality TV thrive on this culture of division. I mean, that's the whole point of them. They don't add much to our lives, but they keep us hooked on the drama of watching other people argue, humiliate each other, or pick sides. We can see this in the last season of Love Island USA, where producers made a decision to keep certain people who are not in the right headspace to do this kind of reality show and weren't ready to be in this type of scenario, but they kept them because they knew having this person on their reality TV show would get clicks, will generate online discourse and polarization, because now there's a huge fandom that supports Hara and the whole huge group that hates Hara. And I am sure this is not even helping her own mental health because, as we have seen on the show, it is not great, and now it must not be better, honestly. And a lot of it is due to the producers, for example, but they know it gets them clicks, it gets some revenue, and they will keep doing it in the next seasons. Another consequence that I want to talk about is that most TV shows nowadays that are not reality also revolve around this. The best example is right now, it's going on The Summer I Turned Pretty. The whole online discourse it generates is whether you're Team Jeremiah or Team Conrad, again, dividing people. Why? Because this keeps the dialogue active. People fight each other over two fictional characters, and they're not even that good, honestly. I said what I said. Yes, I have watched it. Of course, I have watched it. Belly is kind of stupid that she keeps going through this. Girl, move on. Honestly, she just needs to move on. Both of them have done her dirty. Conrad Conrad also needs to move on. This is not about The Summer I Turned Pretty. Anyways, I'm gonna look in. But here's the thing. Disagreement isn't always bad. History shows that conflict drives culture, art, and even progress. Political debate can push societies forward, creative rivalries can produce great art, and disagreements can challenge us to see the world differently. We honestly just need to stop falling for the rage bait. That's literally all of it. We just need to stop falling for the rage bait and learn how to listen to the other side. And this way we may all teach each other something. There's a difference between a healthy debate that challenges ideas and toxic tribalism that turns every discussion into war. One can open minds and the other closes them. So the answer we arrive at is we love picking sides because it gives us a sense of identity and belonging, even if it's fake, and perhaps a little bit of drama. From antiquity to the times of Taylor Swift, we have always found conflict entertaining, and we will probably keep doing this. The difference is that today we have internet, which makes everything so fast, global, and heightened. Division can push society towards progress or trap us in echo chambers where we only ever hear our own side. Now the challenge for us is not to avoid disagreement because that's impossible, but to recognize when debate is healthy and when it is needed. Don't just entertain it because of toxic tribalism trying to defend your tribe, which is a crazy way to talk about these things, but it makes a lot of sense. Because at the end of the day, this is all designed to keep us scrolling and consuming. So I'll finally leave you with one question. Do you think social media has made polarization worse, or has it only revealed what's inside of us? Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you like this video. I will make much more videos like this. I love this so much. I love researching. I love digging into these rabbit holes of concepts I've been thinking about, and I will do many more. If you have suggestions for future videos, comment down below. I love to hear your ideas, and that was it for today. So I'll see you next time. Bye!